How's it going, fam? It's Alyse here, and today we are going to talk a little bit about how I have changed and evolved over the years. But before we dive in, I want to share with you the view that I'm looking at right now because it's so beautiful and I just want you to be here in this setting with me. So I'm inside of a little cabin that my boyfriend's dad built just a couple weeks ago, and outside of this cabin is this beautiful property and farm, and there's a little mini horse and two other horses. I don't know if you can see them in there, but it's just such a beautiful day. And so on the note of change, those of you who are new here, you may not know this about me, but I have pretty much always been one to embrace change and growth and evolution. Years ago on my channel, I was, now looking back, what I would refer to as quite the extremist, in the realm of eating a raw vegan diet, living a super minimalist lifestyle, dropping out of college and getting a one-way ticket to Hawaii and living on a fruit farm and living in a van for a few months, hiking half of the Appalachian Trail. It's just going very all out in certain directions of life. And so much of those more extremist ways was coming from this spark within me to get closer to the truth, to get closer to the human experience of what is out here. It was quenching this thirst for alternative experiences. I had some awareness of what the standard, American dream was, the standard way of doing things, at least in the United States. There was just this part of me that wanted to know what else is out there. And especially in the realm of wellness, holistic wellness and health, what can I pursue? What can I experience that's going to support my well-being and the way that I feel and the way that I function and the way that I experience life and everything? That's where I was coming from. And I think, somewhere along the way, I started to get very fused into certain belief systems and really stand for and advocate for these different lifestyles and practices and ways of being that I was trying out, that I was pursuing. And I think that can be said for, so many individuals, when you first try a new diet or you first research something new and hear about something new. And I think a lot of us have the tendency to drop into this this is the way. Oh my gosh, I can't believe I've never heard of this before, never knew about this before. Everybody needs to know about this. And so in that sense, I really stood strong in whatever it was that I was immersed in. And I think that, oh my gosh, there was such a benefit in that for me, really getting to fully experience the things that I was trying and pursuing. And I've changed. Things have changed for me. And so I think it's time to share with you a little bit of an update on how that specifically is not the same as it used to be for me personally. So where do we even start with this? I guess it began maybe three years ago at this time when I started to have energetic healing sessions every week. It's sort of funny saying energetic healing because it's all of the work that I did and have been doing, it doesn't really fit into a certain box or label of what you can call it, but that's my best attempt. Energy work, somatic healing, expanding beyond the human conditioning. And essentially that's what I have been up to. I've been really observing my personality, my identities that I had in the past, right? Of I am this or I am practicing this. And really I was fused with it. And what's interesting is we can get really far down that rabbit hole of starting to see everything in life, starting to see other people, starting to experience life through this lens of this is who I am, this is my identity, this is the way that I eat, this is the way that I act, this is the way that I talk, this is the way that I behave, this is who I interact with, this is what I don't do and what I don't eat and who I don't interact with and what's not my way, the way. And we start to perceive life through that lens. And so the past few years for me has been this process of like peeling or like pulling apart those lenses and just looking at them and being like, these are all just parts, but now all of a sudden I'm the witness seeing them versus being merged with them. And a really big turning point for me, a really big shift for me, huge shift, was back a couple of years ago when I was in this position where I had changed a part of my lifestyle. There were various people around the world on the internet, you know, sharing their view of me, and it was not the nicest one. It was quite a different one than how I viewed myself and how I viewed my life experience. And so I was really struggling at that time. It felt like all I wanted was for those people to understand my truth at the time, my way of seeing things, my way of perceiving, my way of corresponding with each other. It was like until they could understand that, I was in turmoil within myself. My mentor, through these energetic practices and awakening practices, helped me understand that multiple truths, multiple reality, multiple lenses, multiple perceptions can exist simultaneously. And that was such a groundbreaking shift for me, to then be able to see, oh, I can still have this reality that I have. I can still view myself and the world as I do. And other people can also have a conflicting or different view at the same time. And neither of them is right or wrong. They just both are. And it was like, oh my gosh, this light bulb went off. Because I went from fighting against the reality that there were different views, feeling like I had to get them into my viewpoint, and they felt like they had to get me into their viewpoint. And then all of a sudden it was like, oh, there's no effort that needs to happen. There's no force, there's no changing others or making anything different. There was all of a sudden, oh, I could just rest into, this is how I'm believing, this is how I'm seeing, this is how I'm experiencing. And it was like so much anxiety and so much hurt and so much frustration just melted away. And so that was a big shift for me. And then I began to see, you know, on this deeper level, that if there's no right or wrong, and I know that's a whole nother subject that we can go into, but my hope is that you can listen to what I'm saying in the context of this video, in the context of this topic. If there is no one way is right and one way is wrong, then something else that changed for me was this intensity in being fused with my way of like, yes, having as little belongings as possible is the right way. This is it. Everyone should do it. That really crumbled. To kind of get to the heart of what I feel called to share today is, you know, the past few years for me, I feel like I've been in this really interesting void. I was just witnessing everything unfold. I was witnessing my thoughts, witnessing my emotions, witnessing my relationships, witnessing my patterns, witnessing what I was doing and who I was being, and just watching everything. But it almost felt disconnected from my human self, disconnected from my personality. Like I felt like I wasn't as much of a character like I was in the past, where it was like, I am Alyse and these are the things that I stand for. It was like, I don't know if I stand for things because it just all is. It's all okay. And I witnessed myself, I witnessed my human self have preferences, but they didn't hold the same weight as they did in the past. And so what I found was that, you know, the past few years has definitely been a more peaceful place. Whereas in the past, being so identified, it was very tense and there was passion and there was fire. And yeah, the past few years have been more quiet and introspective and more just being for me, disconnecting from so many different patterns and bound energy and attachment to certain belief systems. And so with that, it's been a little challenging for me to create content, because the way of creating content that I had always known was to share the polarizing things that I was doing. And so there's been a little bit of a like, what do I even share? It's like I've still been passionate to talk about things and to have really, deep conversations around certain topics and everything with the people in my physical reality. But when it came to turning on a camera, I was just like, I would do it, and then I would just be like, I just don't know if it matters. And so as much as it was like a more calming, peaceful place to be witnessing everything, over the past few months I have felt this like percolation and readiness and something brewing inside of me, like the spark of my essence coming alive again and feeling ready to be more human and, connect again with my personality, but from a whole new place. Connect again with my beliefs and what feels important to me, but from a whole new place, where underneath there's this knowing that there is no right or wrong. This is the way, this is not the way. I hope that this is making sense and coming across clearly. But yeah, I felt like I needed to share this video and communicate this to kind of like break the ice. Something else that I've found too is ever since I've been making videos, it's always been a requirement, a necessity for me to really have integrated and really embody the things that I'm talking about. It's sort of like I wasn't able to make this video that I'm making right now and to talk about this that I'm talking about right now until it fully landed in my being. And so what I mean by that is, there's a big difference between cognitively knowing something or having a realization in the mind and then actually living that and experiencing that and knowing what that feels like in the body, in the whole life experience. And so I guess it's fully landed now of, that was how things played out for me. And that's one way that I've evolved and things have shifted in my experience over the years. Oh, it feels good to say. And so where I'm at right now is exploring and being open to what does this look like moving forward. I imagine that as time goes on, there are going to be these little sparks of, there's like a flock of birds or turkeys or something behind me. I imagine that there's going to be these sparks of inspiration and things that I'm exploring in my own life that I feel inspired to share, just like in the past, but the difference now will be that I feel inspired to share them with this undertone, with this embodiment of, I know that this isn't the only way. This is like a piece of the beautiful puzzle that we're all weaving together. And so one other thing in this, which I'll probably share a whole nother video on, is this relationship between a mindset work and emotional work. I guess it's a whole nother thing to go into, but to bring it together, long story short, is I'm now finally experiencing this coming together of the two worlds, of a mindset, of the words that I speak, of how I talk about myself, how I talk to other people, and the being, and the witnessing, and the feeling, the sensations in my body, the emotions in my body, the processing trauma, and everything. So it's sort of like personal development world, healing world, and I felt like I was lost in the personal development world for a few years, and then I got a little bit lost in the healing world for a few years. And now, finally, I'm like, oh yes, all of the methods and the tools in both of those worlds are just that. They are tools to support this human experience, to support my vitality, to support my relationships, to support everything, but to not get stuck in them. And finally, I feel like I've unbound from being stuck. It was like I swung the pendulum to this way and then this way, and now I'm like, I'm free of it, and I get to utilize them to enhance my state of being and my reality. So I could talk about this stuff forever and ever, and if you'd like me to, I can make another video on more on that. So let me know in the comments down below if you'd like a video on the colliding of mindset and emotional healing work, and I'd be happy to talk about that. That's gonna wrap up this video. I hope that you enjoyed watching. It feels so good to share. If you liked this video, please give it a thumbs up. If you've watched this whole video and you're not already subscribed, go ahead and click the subscribe button for more videos like this, and I will chat with you all in the comments section. Bye, loves.